Welcome to the Kitsap Matters podcast. In each episode, we discuss the people, places, and things that make Kitsap County unique, covering local entertainment, restaurants, business, government, and anything else we find interesting, troubling, or just plain amusing. A brief disclosure, this is a community-focused podcast, not a financial podcast, but sometimes financial topics do arise. And since the host is a licensed financial professional, we have to include the following disclosure in every episode. The strategies and concepts discussed are for educational purposes only and do not represent specific investment, tax, or estate planning advice. Investing carries an inherent element of risk, and it's in everyone's best interest to consult a tax, legal, or investment professional. Kevin Campbell is an investment representative of, and advisory services are offered through USA Financial Securities Corporation, a registered investment advisor located at 6020 East Fulton Street, Ada, Michigan, 49301. Peaks Financial is not affiliated with USA Financial Securities Corporation. Hi, welcome to another episode of Kitsap Matters podcast. I'm Kevin Campbell, and I'm excited to have with me today Kati Davis on the show. Kati is a realtor in Kitsap County at Kati Davis Realtor and is also a founding member of the Kitsap Executive Association. Kati, thanks for joining me today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, as we talk about at the beginning of every show, if you're familiar with Peaks Financial, you've probably heard of what we call our sale formula. The sale formula is the system that we use to manage the financial planning process for our clients. It's all about the key components in our planning philosophy. So in the name sale formula, the first four letters of the word, F-O-R-M, in formula, represent something to us. It stands for family, occupation, recreation, and money. It's all about what matters most to people and what you can actually control at the same time. So what's fun about our planning approach is that it also provides a great outline for interviews like this. So today we're diving into Kati's story and what matters to her. So let's jump into it. Kati, again, thanks for being with me today.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome.
Excited to be here.
Cool. So we have spent a lot of time together recently.
Yes, we have.
In the launch of the Kitsap Executive Association, which we'll talk more about in a minute. Mm-hmm. Let's first start off, though, with we're going to follow that form that I just talked about, family, occupation, recreation, money. So tell me a little bit about you, where you're from, and how you ended up here in Kitsap County and kind of your family and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I grew up just south in a little town of Olympia, just south of Olympia called Little Rock. I went to Tumwater High School. Graduated from high school, and I ended up going to Seattle Pacific University, dropped out of Seattle Pacific University, and became a wrangler at a guest ranch resort in Montana.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah, it was a ton of fun.
I'm sure your parents loved that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'm dropping out of college and you're going to go work on a ranch in Montana.
Correct.
Right.
My mom is an avid horsewoman, so I grew up riding and competing on horseback throughout high school.
Awesome.
Left my horses at home, and my mom kind of kept going on that. She still rides. They're actually out in the backcountry today. But I dropped out. That was a seasonal job, and she was the one. I wasn't sure if I was going to go back to college. We went and did a tour through Central Washington University, and I opted to go to Central Washington. I was a pole vaulter in high school, and I opted to walk on to that pole vaulting team. That's why I went to Seattle Pacific. Walked onto the pole vault team in Central, competed throughout my career there, was an All-American.
Awesome.
Yeah, 2-time All-American pole vaulter. And then after that, I thought I had a grand plan that I was going to go to the Olympics in 2016. So, long story short, and the universe works in mysterious ways, I was brought essentially my path took me to Arizona, and I kept competing post-collegiately in Arizona. I lived in Arizona for about 7 years before I came back to Kitsap, so it was close to home. I didn't end up going. I decided after 2 years of a lot of trial, a lot of competition, and a lot of practice, a lot of training. I had stress fractures in my legs. It was no longer fun. The whole reason I wanted to go to the Olympics was I thought it would be a good platform to have an impact on the world, have a positive impact on the world. I realized that getting a gold medal was not necessarily the best platform to do that, and I could do that in different ways. So
that's a cool story.
Yeah.
And as much time as we spent together, I didn't know that story.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So then, and I know we've talked about Arizona before. I know you were in the just north of Scottsdale. Mm-hmm. We did have conversations about that before. Yep. And then you ended up back up here in Kitsap.
I did.
And when did you get into real estate?
I got into real estate in 2019.
Awesome.
Yeah. So just before the pandemic.
Perfect timing to get into a field like that when there's, must have been interesting.
Absolutely perfect timing to get into the field. Interest rates were low. Nobody knew what was going to happen during COVID, but then interest rates were at 2.75 and 3%, and it was just, I could not have asked for a better time to get into the industry. I have been very blessed to have been able to build a very strong business in the last 5 years that is just going to continue to last.
But you've also, not only, it sounds like good timing, but I've also seen things about you that I haven't seen necessarily other realtors doing. Like I've seen videos of you on TikTok power washing houses. Let's talk about that for a sec.
Yeah. So I am a hard worker. I've been raised to get my hands dirty and do the work, and I think when in this field and this career, you have people's livelihoods in your hand. This is oftentimes the largest investment they have. There are stories behind each and every transaction, whether it be a divorce or someone passing away. And so not only are you responsible for that transaction, but you're responsible for the way that they feel through that transaction. And there can be so much stress. There are so many finite pieces there's just so many tasks that need to be completed that if I think it's going to make a difference and I have the skills and the know-how to do that, I might just get it done for them.
Right.
Yeah, and so I think...
So you're definitely going the extra mile.
Yeah,
right?
Going the extra mile, going above and beyond is just going to serve my business more in the future, because then I get those reviews and people are going to share their experience, their positive experience.
Yeah, and it certainly benefits your clients.
Yeah,
and which also benefits you
right.
in return. I mean, it's a win-win deal, and win-win deals are wonderful.
Yeah.
Right, when you create win-win deals, is a fantastic thing.
So I'm a realtor for Keller Williams Realty, and we have a saying that's win-win or no deal. If it's not a win-win, we don't want to do it.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I feel the exact same way. There's far too often in business and in transactions throughout life, people are trying to create win-lose deals.
Right.
And frankly, there's some people out there that, I mean, they don't feel good about a transaction unless they feel like they put it to the other person.
Yeah.
And that's just, that's not cool, right? That's not
right.
good for, and what's the benefit to that for all the parties, right?
Right.
So I love that concept of win-win or no deal.
Right.
That's fantastic. So, what do you think? You talked about your parents. You mentioned that they're in the backcountry right now. And when we spoke yesterday, you were saying that they're out doing something on horseback up in the hills. Mm-hmm. What kind of lessons have you taken from your parents that you think maybe have helped instill some of this in you, or what other lessons have you taken from your folks?
Yeah, I'd say hardworking, be humble. They've always been very financially savvy. And so I think that is something they've definitely instilled as well, is while you're making money, store it away, make sure to then give it out to your community as well. So give back, but be savvy and don't spend it all if you don't need to, right?
Yeah.
So.
And I know you're active out in the community. Oh, that's something I forgot to put into your intro. You're also part of the Poulsbo Rotary, and which is where we actually met.
Right.
As we're both in Rotary, so we're both into helping with community service and very focused on helping our communities grow.
Right.
So, what do you think is the best part about being a realtor? What do you love about it?
I love the impact that it makes on people's lives. I feel like a guide, and I can essentially help people get to where they want to go. And so that being a guide and empowering, say, first-time home buyers into their first investment property, and then being able to show them the road and the path to the next property that they buy. Or again, I've been working with a lot of older folks who are downsizing. They might have had a longtime partner pass away, and it's time to downsize. And so it is extremely rewarding to me to be able to be there not only just for the transaction, but for the mental and emotional process of that, and to just help empower them through whatever transition it is they're going through.
I love to hear you say that, and there's a theme that has occurred in several of these podcasts here, and both other members of the Kitsap Executive Association, Andre and Frank, have just both been on the show with me as well.
Yeah.
And something that is a theme between, unprompted by me, but a theme with all three of you, is the idea of stewardship. That this isn't just a transaction, that it is a stewardship kind of relationship.
Right.
And that's my words, not yours, but very much the same thing you're talking about, where when people think, oh, Katie's a realtor, she's just out selling houses and doing transactions. And I think people think that of, in a lot of industries, people think of people in all kinds of fields as, oh, they're just here doing a job.
Right.
Not so much about, oh, hey, they're here making an impact.
Right.
And they're doing significant things. And huge impacts to people's lives.
Right. Yeah.
The things that you do, the things that I do, can be massively impactful to people's lives, because they are huge financial decisions that, if made in a vacuum or made without proper guidance, can end up being unfortunate.
Right.
Right, if they're not done right.
Absolutely right.
What do you think is the biggest misconception about what you do?
So many people have misconceptions about realtors. And I think it is they're just out to make money. Mm-hmm. They're just looking to push me into a home or sell a home. And I really do not consider myself a salesperson, because I am not selling a singular product. I'm not, even if I have a house that's listed, I will never try to get someone to purchase that home and push them into it if it doesn't make sense. I'm really a problem solver. Mm-hmm. And I think that is a misconception. And unfortunately, a lot of people have had negative experiences. Mm-hmm. I have quite a few people come to me telling me that they don't like realtors and they haven't had a good experience with a realtor. And then I get to change that.
I just sent a client to you. Because that's exactly the experience they had they had a very unfortunate transactional experience with another realtor that didn't go very well.
Right, exactly. So I would say that is the biggest misconception, is that realtors are just here to sell you something, when in reality we are problem solvers.
Yeah.
And I'm here to help you achieve whatever it is that your goal is.
That's awesome. How do you see your profession changing over the next 20 years? Do you see now? So your industry is one that is difficult to, or I would think difficult to replace with AI, mm-hmm. right? I mean, obviously there's tools out there. There's websites, and there's the Zillows of the world and the Redfins and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But how do you see your industry changing over the next 20 years, and what do you think will be different than it is now?
Yeah. They have tried. There's Zillow, iBuyer, these different agencies who have tried to eliminate a realtor, but the reality is, you can only know so much without walking into a house and without discovering what each individual scenario is. So in regards to how I think it will change in the next 20 years, I believe that a lot is already changing with AI. And so AI is utilized so much more in the industry with marketing and certain parts of the analysis. But I don't think that realtors could ever be removed fully from the transaction, because there are just so many moving parts and pieces that require a real, true human.
Yeah, you need boots on the ground.
Yep, exactly. So I imagine that AI can help us modify. There's a lot of conversations around commissions with the recent lawsuit in the Midwest, and so that may shift some over time, but I still believe that realtors are absolutely a necessity. And if I was no longer in the industry years down the road, I would absolutely hire a realtor to sell my home.
Right on. So, like, if somebody were thinking about getting into being a realtor, what does your schedule look like? What does a day in the life of Katie Davis look like?
Woo! Gosh. Well, so a lot of people
I know you're incredibly busy.
Yeah, so the misconception sometimes is that realtors have flexibility, and that realistically comes down to how busy you are, how successful you are, and then how the next goal is when you get to the point that you're that busy, you're then getting into hiring. And so you want to hire your assistant and your executive admin who can take a lot off your plate, and then hire a showing assistant so that you specifically are not the one running around doing all the showings. So once you leverage and you hire help, you can get a lot of your time back. But in the meantime, a typical day for me looks like I woke up, and it's so, you have to keep slots in your time schedule for things that come up. Like I was alerted of a house, because as houses come on the market, your buyers want to see them. I was alerted of a house that came on the market yesterday morning. We scheduled an appointment at the end of the day, 7:30, and then from that appointment, we then wanted to do a pre-inspection because it's a popular home. My client loves it, and so then this morning at 9:30, I go out to that house in Hansville and we do a pre-inspection, then continue on with my day. And actually, as soon as I get done here, I've got the signed offer and I need to submit it to the listing agent by 3 p.m. So it's a lot of, there is flexibility for how to schedule it, but on a day-to-day basis, I might be going to home inspections, home showings, networking events like the KEA, or events that I'm doing with the community. There's home closings. There's a lot of pre-listing pre-listing walkthroughs.
Sounds very dynamic.
It's very dynamic. Every day is different. It is not a standard 9-to-5 job.
It kind of sounds like semi-controlled chaos.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I like to say oftentimes that I just am able to hold all of these spinning plates up in the air, and it's really just trying to keep all the spinning plates up and moving forward.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's talk real quick about Kitsap Executive Association.
Yeah.
So we've done a couple of podcasts now since KEA has been launched, and so we've been starting to mention it on the podcasts. So you and I are two of the 4 founding members of KEA. The Kitsap Executive Association. Do you want to take a minute and talk about what drew you to that and what your vision is for KEA?
Yeah. Well, you drew me to the Kitsap Executive Association.
There was wine involved.
Yep,
I remember
there was
that.
wine involved at a Rotary event, yes.
Yeah, at a Rotary event, yes.
Yeah. I love the idea of being in the Kitsap Executive Association. I love the idea of the association and learning a bit more about the international association. There is such a need for an executive association like this in Kitsap County. We don't have anything like this, and already I have found so much value out of the group, even just the 4 of us meeting. But now that we are bringing in others, I'm already seeing the ways, and I actually just sent a contact this morning to one of my contacts, sent out a referral for a moving company that is joining the
Wonderful.
association. And so just the value and the conversation, the camaraderie, the connections with other executives in the county, I think is just unparalleled.
I really feel that it's going to be an economic powerhouse in Kitsap County.
Absolutely.
And I think you're right. I think there is a need for it, and if it already existed, we wouldn't be building it.
Right.
But since it doesn't exist, we're having to build it.
Right.
So I want to say thank you as well for joining me on that. And as I mentioned on the other podcast, I think the best thing I did was just invite the right people into the room to help build it. And the 4 of us, you and I and Andre and Frank, have I think made a great team,
right,
to build this and launch it and breathe this thing and some life into this, and then start bringing in others. And we just had our launch meeting not too long ago, and that was quite successful.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're kicking off officially in July as far as our regularly scheduled meetings. So that's super exciting. Let's see. So now we're going to shift into recreation.
Okay.
I know that what I do know of you from a recreation standpoint is you stay pretty busy there too, right?
Yeah.
You were just playing pickleball.
Yep.
I know you were on a hike with a client yesterday.
Yep.
I also know you do retreats and all kinds of stuff, and you're very much into being outdoors and out there. So when you're not, when you actually have free time, when you're not building executive associations and helping people with their real estate transactions, What are you doing in your free time?
Yeah. A lot of those things that you mentioned. We're getting into the boating season.
Right.
So this time last year we were already on the boat, but crabbing season is coming up, and we really enjoy.
Crabbing season it's just around the corner.
Yep.
Weeks away.
Yep, absolutely. We are actually just booking. So yeah, I've grown up on the water, and my partner and we like to be on the water, and so we'll be out on the boat. We actually just are about to book a 7-day catamaran license tour where we'll go to Cabo and we'll hop on a catamaran, and by the end of the 7 days, the 7-day trip, we will have completed our catamaran captain's licenses.
Awesome.
So that we can charter a catamaran anywhere in the world.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
is that like an ASA, like the American Sailing Association? Is it an ASA course, or do you know?
I believe I actually need to check all the details. He's on
Awesome.
that. He's the one behind the
detail
scenes,
guy?
the detail guy on that. But yeah.
How fun. That sounds like
Yeah.
a great time.
Yeah, so that's going to be great. We do a ton of paddleboarding in the summertime. We have our dog Teo. He comes with us. He's a little 35-pound, they call him a mountain feist. So we do a lot of hiking. We have trails right out the back of our house in Indianola. So a lot of hiking, a lot of paddleboarding, a lot of boating.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, this is a wonderful place for it, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
we live in like the outdoor dream place.
Yep.
Of always something to do.
And mountain biking.
Mountain biking.
Yeah, just went yesterday for a quick little ride in Port Gamble.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So
last
after
night.
your hike, you went mountain biking.
Well, at night.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else do we have in that? We just talked a lot about that, about sports and all that kind of stuff. So let's talk about money. You mentioned your parents earlier and money. So when you think about money, who or what has the biggest impact on you? Is it your parents, or as far as like instilling investments into you?
I think it depends. From a very, very young age, always was sure and convinced and would say that I was going to be a millionaire. And so I think I just have always had a confidence around money. I know a lot of people don't necessarily have that relationship with money. They have kind of a strained relationship with money, but that is something that from a young age I have just been absolutely confident and sure of that. My parents are very frugal people. They've set themselves up well, but they mended things instead of bought new, and that
Right.
was essentially their generation as well. But I think we have the same couch in our house that we've had since 1993 when it was built.
Right.
So those types of things where it was, if you don't need it, really consider, or even little things like, I remember as a kid, when we would go out to eat, we mostly ate at home around the table as a family, but when we would go out to eat, it was like, oh, you don't get a drink, it's just get
Right.
your meal. So they absolutely instilled a lot of
That's
financial,
just discipline, right?
Yeah,
financial
it's discipline, exactly. And so overall, that discipline has been instilled in me, and I really appreciate that. I had a unique situation as a kid. And sometimes I think that money has come to me through interesting hardships. I had E. coli from Jack in the Box when I was 3 years old. It was a kind of a long story, but it was the first time that my parents had ever taken us there, and it was a busy holiday weekend.
I bet your dad was like, see, this is why we don't go out to eat.
Well, and to a fast food restaurant.
Right.
They were also pretty healthy, but it was a holiday. There was a lot going on. We were out shopping, and we went to Jack in the Box, and I was not eating my hamburger. My mom split it in half, broke it in half, and said, "Here, eat half of it," and it was raw inside. And that was during the time that the E. coli outbreak had happened, but they hadn't yet traced it and tracked it down, and I had just had 1 or 2 bites of that hamburger. But long story short, I ended up going to the hospital, got E. coli, was part of a class action lawsuit, and when I was 18, I received a check, and I don't know these numbers exactly at this point anymore, but I received a check for like $28,000. And then each consecutive year after that, I received a check totaling something like $60,000. And so that was, at that point in my life, a significant leg up, I would say. My parents they coached me into it for years before that. They said, hey, you're going to receive this. It's up to you how you can spend it. We're not going to pay for your college. So you need to be responsible with this. Don't spend it all in one place. Be smart. Invest it. And so I knew, and I had access to, not a huge sum of money, but at 18 years old, I knew that I couldn't necessarily tell my friends. And I was in a car club. I've always been into cars. And I was in a car club, and I just knew that at that point in time that I couldn't let anyone know that, because I then wouldn't want them to be expecting me or relying on me to like pay for drinks or any of these things.
Katie's got plenty of money.
Exactly. So I've had to be a steward, or I've gotten the opportunity to be a steward from a relatively young age. And so I think that's also helped with my ability to make it and also keep it and grow it.
Do you remember what your first investment was? And when did you do it, and what was it?
Oh, what was my first investment? GE. This was with some of the guide from my dad. It would have been GE. I bought Tesla actually at maybe in 2000. Not my first investment by any means, but maybe 2013, 2014. So pretty early on in Tesla. I believe in just the transition away from oil and gas, but I understand that all the issues with electric as well. But I believe it was GE, and that's one of the main ones that I remember. Yeah,
awesome. So as a realtor, you're kind of adjacent to me, right? As a financial advisor, where we both provide services and guidance to our clients that it can have a significant impact on their financial lives.
Right.
So from your perspective, what do you think is wrong with the financial service industry, both from like on my side as a financial advisor, and I'm kind of lumping us together in the grander scheme of financial services.
Yeah.
Do you think there's issues, and what can we do better?
That's a great question. Sometimes I think that there's a lot of mystery around it, where people don't, or people don't necessarily know what it takes to even come in and have a conversation with you. So there's, of course, people who are just starting out and wondering what to do with their wealth. They're holding it in their bank accounts, and they're considering what to invest. They might be doing a little investment through Robinhood online, but I think that there can be some mystery around it. And so just having conversations like these, opening it up and essentially
seeking knowledge.
Seeking knowledge.
Seeking the knowledge.
I'll have to think about that some more as far as what could be improved with the industry.
Awesome. Let me ask two other questions.
Okay.
Best kept secret in Kitsap County. What do you think is that you're willing to share? Best kept secret in Kitsap County that you're willing to share. What do you think that is out there that people might not be aware of, that they should check out? Whether it's a hiking spot, it could be a beach, a hike, a restaurant, or a business.
Yeah.
What's unique out there that people should know about?
Well, maybe I'll go with two. I don't know that either of them are really secrets, but I think a lot of people actually don't know. And so when you first ask about best kept secret in Kitsap County, I think that a lot of people do not know that there is a waterfall hike in Bremerton. And this is the hike that I told you yesterday I went on a hike with my client. This is the hike that I took her on because she's newer to the area. And it is such an easy hike to do. It's called Dickerson Creek Waterfall, and the Liebers Lane Trailhead. It's close to Kitsap Lake, so 10 minutes or less outside of downtown Bremerton by the ferry.
Which direction?
It would be west.
West of down,
Like
west of Bremerton?
northwest,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, northwest of downtown Bremerton, Kitsap Lake, right off the highway. And it's about a half-hour walk up to the waterfall. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. It's such an easy way to just get out of whatever you're doing for the day and just immerse into nature.
Awesome.
It's a beautiful trail. It's a gorgeous little waterfall. It's Dickerson Creek that runs into Chico Creek, and a half-hour down. So you're
How big is the waterfall?
maybe 45 feet.
Cool.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Very cool. Highly recommend it.
I'll have to go check it out.
Absolutely.
And what's the second one?
Second one would be a newer restaurant called Restaurant Lola in downtown Bremerton. It's East Bremerton, just almost under the Warren Avenue Bridge.
Okay.
It's Juneteenth today, and that is a Black-owned restaurant in downtown Bremerton, and they do phenomenal food, phenomenal plating. It's a really amazing restaurant.
Cafe Lola.
Highly recommend it. Restaurant Lola.
Restaurant Lola, not
Yep.
cafe. Okay, Restaurant Lola. Okay.
Yep.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
Is the Warren Street Bridge, is that the one that's near the boat shed?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh well, that's the Minette Bridge.
Minette Bridge,
The
right.
Warren
Sorry, I got
Avenue
that
Bridge
wrong.
is just up from there.
Then one
to
just
the
north of that.
Yep.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's in between those two bridges, essentially.
Okay. Restaurant Lola. I'll have to check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Where can people find more about you? Where can people hunt you down for Kati Davis Realtor?
Yeah. KatiDavisRealtor.com. Yeah. Online. Instagram is Kati the Realtor. But Kati Davis Realtor, you can get a little information on there.
And Kati is Kati.
Kati with no E. And that's generally where you can find me.
Awesome. Kati, thanks so much for being on the podcast with me today. It's been a blast. Also, again, thank you for everything you've been doing to help launch Kitsap Executive Association. I know it's been a lot of work. Thanks for being a partner in that and helping me build that.
Absolutely.
It's been wonderful.
It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
And that's another wrap of Kitsap Matters podcast. Thanks for listening. A brief disclosure. This is a community-focused podcast, not a financial podcast, but sometimes financial topics do arise. And since the host is a licensed financial professional, we have to include the following disclosure in every episode. The strategies and concepts discussed are for educational purposes only and do not represent specific investment, tax, or estate planning advice. Investing carries an inherent element of risk, and it's in everyone's best interest to consult a tax, legal, or investment professional. Kevin Campbell is an investment representative of, and advisory services are offered through USA Financial Securities Corporation, a registered investment advisor located at 6020 East Fulton Street, Ada, Michigan, 49301. Peaks Financial is not affiliated with USA Financial Securities Corporation.